What are some of the best places where you can live well for under $2,000 a month? I've been asked by several of my subscribers whether I can shoot a video on some places that are great, that offer a great quality of life for little money. The first place that I wanted to discuss with you in today's video is Portugal. The country located on the Iberian Peninsula has long been one of the most popular countries for digital nomads. Portugal is no newcomer. It has consistently ranked at the very top of the finest places to live in the entire world. Portugal offers a phenomenal quality of life, and I'm not saying this lightly. When you move to Portugal, you have phenomenal air quality. You have amazing and very affordable healthcare. You have humble and also, I want to say, hospitable people. You have people that are willing to speak English. Portugal is one of these countries where you probably do not need to speak the local language, especially if you want to live in one of the largest cities. Lisbon, Braga, Porto. If you live in any of the major cities, chances are you will be able to get by with just English, something that would be more difficult to accomplish in a country like Spain or Italy. How can you move to Portugal unless you're fortunate to have a European passport like myself? It's going to be a little bit tricky, right? You can get into Portugal through the Golden Visa program, meaning you have to make a substantial investment in Portugal. And you have a couple of options to achieve that. Option one is to do it through real estate. You must invest at least 500,000 euros in real estate in Portugal. Now, this is a great option for everybody that wants to settle down in Portugal for the long term. And I think the real estate option is probably the best option because you can have the real estate under your name. Another great option for Americans and Canadians looking to move to Portugal is by simply investing in an existing Portuguese company and creating a minimum of 5 jobs. Obviously, this is an option for the entrepreneurs. It's an option for an investor, for a businessman, a businesswoman looking to capture the Portuguese market or looking to, set up like an office, hire some employees to get residency that way. One of the big pros of living in Portugal, and especially being on the residency, on the Golden Visa program, is that the minimum stay requirements are pretty relaxed. They're not like in the US, where you have to remain in the country for at least 183 days a year, or you may not be considered a tax resident. Portugal, all you need to do is to spend, a few days a year in the country to retain your residency. It's a very liberal visa program. It doesn't ask for much, and it really allows foreigners, it allows not just Americans, not just Canadians, but people from all over the world. So if you're not lucky enough to have an EU passport, then you can get into Portugal for any of the options that I just mentioned. One of the things we haven't talked about yet is how much money do you actually need to live in Portugal? This is a very broad question, but if you want to have a good life in Portugal, we're not talking now about living in Alfama, one of the more expensive areas in Lisbon, but if you want to live anywhere in Portugal, 16 to 1700 euros a month is really going to give you a good life. And that would probably be enough for a couple, So, if you can find an apartment, if you can find a house, that you can rent for maybe 500 to 700 euros a month, that's very doable. And, you can definitely achieve that, maybe not in Alfama, Lisbon, maybe not in Lisbon city center, but you can achieve it in other cities. Porto is definitely cheaper. Braga is cheaper than Lisbon too. But if you want to stay within Lisbon, within the city, you can do that, right? But you have to go a little bit outside to have a more affordable life. It's everywhere the same. Or, if you want to have more sun, if you want to have a more relaxed lifestyle, you can consider the Algarve region. That's the most southern region in Portugal. And with about 16 to 1700 euros a month, which comes down to about $2,000 a month, you can have a very comfortable life in the Algarve region. Now I wanted to present you one of my favorite countries in the entire world. It hasn't changed. It has changed a little bit since the pandemic has gotten out of hand, and they've made it really difficult for tourists to return, and they've also really made a lot of odd changes to one of their visa programs. The country that I'm talking about is Malaysia. I have a lot of experience in Malaysia. I have lived in Kuching, which is East Malaysia. I've lived in Kuala Lumpur, West Malaysia, and I'm a big Malaysia fan. Even though I'm a little bit disappointed about the current situation in the country, especially what happened to the Malaysia My Second Home program, I want to say that Malaysia is a great country, and for $2,000 a month, which is what, like 8,000 ringgit, I mean, you can have a phenomenal life. I mean, out of all the places we're discussing in this video, Malaysia offers the highest quality of life for little money. High standard. I mean, apartments, if you compare Kuala Lumpur with Bangkok, I mean, like similar areas where most expats live, I want to say that now the prices are starting to come down for several reasons, because not a lot of foreigners are going there right now. Some people moved out, they have sold, whatever, there's all these different reasons why apartment prices are dropping, why real estate prices are dropping in the Far East. Malaysia offers great value for your money. And if you want to live in Malaysia for the long term, you have several options. In case you are an entrepreneur, a digital nomad, some kind of tech person, tech businessman, you have the new entrepreneur program that you can apply for. The entry requirements are pretty relaxed. They're pretty, easy, pretty liberal, if you will. And you can simply grab this new entrepreneur visa, which allows you to stay in Malaysia for 1 year initially. So you can grab this visa by simply proving an innovative technological business idea, but showing proof that you have had at least 50,000 ringgit in your bank account for the past 3 months. So at the end of each month, the minimum account balance must have been at least 50,000 ringgit, which comes down to what, I think $12,000-13,000, about 10,000-11,000 euros. That would be for the new entrepreneur program. The established entrepreneur program is also a great option for an individual, for an entrepreneur, for a businessman who has an existing business that obviously generates a profit, right? You need to have an existing business that has generated a decent profit for the past 2 years. And if you happen to have that, then you can get a 5-year entrepreneur visa for Malaysia, which is extendable. Can't tell you exactly what the financial requirements are. I personally haven't applied for it, but I heard it's not so steep. So if you have a business that pulls in 6 or 7 figures a year, you're definitely going to get that. And the new entrepreneur visa can be extended every year. During the first year, you must have set up your company, and the government needs to see some kind of progress, that you're actually in Malaysia to start to operate this company, to hire employees. They want to make sure that you are in Malaysia for the right reasons, and then they're going to extend this visa for you every single year. The Malaysia My Second Home program is another option. There's the Sarawak Malaysia My Second Home program, which still offers the old requirements, meaning lower income requirements. You only need about $2,000 a month in income to qualify for that, and you need to deposit money into a Malaysian bank account. A good chunk of that money can be used for things like healthcare, property purchase. That would be one way for you to get into the country, right? And then there's also the Peninsula Malaysia My Second Home program. Unfortunately, the requirements for this specific program, for the Peninsula Malaysia My Second Home program, have gone up. So the income requirements are now 40,000 ringgit a month. Net worth requirements have gone up. You need to have at least 1.5 million ringgit in net worth. And you need to deposit a significant amount of money into a Malaysian bank account. Again, 50% of that money can later on be used for things like property purchase, healthcare, or children's education. So they're giving you this option, but the requirements have gone up. I wanted to give you a bonus country. The bonus country I wanted to give you is Spain, a country located on the Iberian Peninsula. Is a great country, offers a great quality of life, phenomenal place again. It's kind of similar to Portugal in some ways. I have been to Spain, I have studied in Spain, have a good amount of experience. I've been to the Canary Islands, I've been all over Spain. My brother actually lives in Spain, so I have a lot of experience, I have friends in Spain. It's one of my favorite countries, even though people say, well, it's still the West, we need to get out of Spain. Spain has a lot of good points, okay? Weather-wise, great country. If you want to live on the Canary Islands, you have spring all year long. I mean, you have summer too, obviously, but you have spring and it never gets colder, so you have no brutal winters. You have very nice, very mild climate. If you want to live in southern Spain, Seville, Malaga, Granada, you have places with amazing cultures. You know, you have a lot of cities on the Mediterranean Sea that offer also very mild climate throughout winter, something that's a lot more difficult to accomplish in the United States, because the United States, you know, most places have continental climate, you know, which means cold winters, hot summers. I mean, except for maybe California, obviously East Coast and West Coast and Florida, southern Texas, even though they also get a lot of cold fronts, you know. So the weather in the US is not that stable, whereas in Spain, especially the Canary Islands and also southern Spain, is a lot more stable, you know, so mild winters again. And, you know, there's also some great places like Barcelona, you know, big metropolitan, there's a lot to do, very vibrant city, not so cheap, un poquito caro, of course. How can you stay in Spain for the long term? You know, unless you're fortunate enough to have a European passport, how can you get into Spain? How can you live in a country like Portugal? Spain offers a golden visa program, and it's very similar because you need to invest 500,000 euros into real estate in Spain. If you can do that, it can be, you know, you just put 500,000 euros into one property, it can be multiple properties. Another option would be to start a company in Spain. The question is, how would you monetize that, you know, because you need to hire employees. So there's quite a bit of setup to do here. It's an investment, you know, it's very structural. So you need to really make sure that this makes sense. So for real estate or starting a business, you know, an American, Canadian, Australian, you know, an Asian, a Latin American can move to Spain permanently, you know, pick up that residency and later on become a citizen. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and make sure you turn on that notification bell. I highly recommend that you grab a completely free copy of my ebook Nomad Elite, the Insider's Guide to Retaining a Life of Freedom. All you need to do is click on the link below the video. And if you got some more time left, check out these videos. Thank you for watching.